Friends. You remember at the beginning of the podcast when you asked me what's the benefit of having building a network in the industry?
Yeah.
This is what it is.
How's everything? How's everything else? Congratulations again, Orsi, on the amazing event.
Thank you. Yeah, good. Very good. Just we're working remotely for another 2 days. I got nominated for Women in Tech Awards for BNT.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we'll find out in the end of April.
Tell me about that tech award. What is it for? Yeah, what is the tech award?
So it's basically women specifically, and there's different categories like sales, creative, PR, I think. There's different categories. So I was put forward for sales.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically, everyone has to submit a summary of their achievements and what are they doing. And obviously my angle was debate club.
Mm-hmm.
And then they shortlist, I think there's 12 in my category, and every different category is going to have a winner.
Oh, wow. Very cool. How are you, Jess? How's everything on your end? Are you still doing the consulting? What's happening on your end, Jess?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm doing the equivalent of like full-time hours as the product design, just on a contract role. But yeah, I'm still in the process of selling my company. So just doing this while that kind of gets finalized. So yeah, but just really loving what I'm doing right now. Like it's great to be able to just focus and zoom in on one skill set. Like I haven't really had a chance to do that ever, as I've been working as a founder for obviously like 10 years and have to be, you just have to be so across everything. You don't really get to just narrow in on one skill set. So I'm really enjoying product design right now.
Yeah, well, what type of design is it? Is it like the UI design of apps and companies?
Yeah, UI, UX. Yeah, UI, UX, basically building out, different platforms that are all in the technical space. So between like apps or websites, just the design of the platforms, then also the user experience as well is a key focus point. But I also do like quite a bit of work around the customer validation and customer research stage too. So kind of sit across the multiple stages of the cycle of the platform. So obviously start off with customer validation and research, and then you move from that into more prototyping and design in low fidelity, and then from there it steps into like prototype and then MVP design. So yeah, working with some really great projects at the moment, like platforms that I think are going to do really well. So it's exciting to be across seeing these platforms that are getting built out from like idea to actual like, launching. It's really awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that the first question I'd like to ask, or she's like, what sort of triggered the whole debate? Like, what was the main sort of goal at the very beginning? And then how has that goal sort of transitioned on, like, as you went the first, second, and third? Has your goals changed? I'm pretty curious to hear what made you want to sort of put these together every quarter.
So the original idea was to build my brand in the industry, get to know people outside of my normal remit. So wanted to just be a bit more present. And my manager suggested me to get a mentorship. So I went through an industry organization's mentorship program. And I was chatting to my mentor, who was really good at leading me or having leading questions to find something that I wanted to do. I didn't want to do the usual sharing LinkedIn pieces or just being active on LinkedIn or writing content pieces, because I'm just not very good at it. So she led me to find out what I was good at, which is bringing people together. And our industry used to have this event called Media Thursdays, which was a monthly event, I think, and everyone just kind of came together, and it was a good social thing to do. And when I was getting my mentorship, we were just coming out of COVID, and she said, look, you have to do a live event. You have to bring the people together because everyone's craving for it. Media is such a sociable industry, and we don't really have those anymore. All of our conferences have gone virtual. And And I was like, okay, but I wanted to make it educational in one way or another, which is usually what the panels do. And then I was thinking what to do. And I've always wanted to do debating. I did one of my courses at uni was debates. I've been looking into debate clubs here in Australia. I couldn't find one that I would join. And then it just kind of hit me. And when I started sharing the idea with my manager and a couple of senior people in the industry, everyone thought it was such a great idea. So the first one, I just kind of got it through, and I wouldn't say much have changed throughout the events in terms of what's the goal. It's still bringing the industry together, exchange ideas. I think one thing that have changed is that originally it was going to be very much advertising focused, and naturally, just because my friends Jess and a couple of the other people that you've met at the event, they're coming from a startup background, and it was they just came along to support initially, but it kind of turned and shifted it into this whole direction where advertising and startup come together. And usually in these events, you would have the same people saying the same things. And it kind of mixed together with these same people, but also new people that complement each other quite well. So that's kind of shifted in terms of perspective. And obviously just throughout the time it's been growing and getting into a better shape, having a sponsor, having a nice location. It's been really helpful, and more people coming along, people who just heard about the events through LinkedIn, people in the industry are aware of it now. People outside of the industry are coming along as well. So it's definitely evolving.
That's amazing. And at the beginning, why do you think you felt like you wanted to sort of meet more people or grow your network? What was like the catalyst behind that?
This is a very relationship-based industry, advertising. So if you grow your network, that's really beneficial for your career. You learn about different angles. You can get mentorship and help from people from different walks of life. You can create new things.
Doing the 3 events, like I remember as a debater, sort of since everyone's sort of watching you, by the end of the night, everyone sort of knows who you are already by default, because I was one of the debaters. And it's probably even more prominent as the person organizing the whole thing, Orsi, where everyone's like, congratulations on putting together an event. They know who you are, and you sort of automatically, and it was completely different because when I came to the second one as an audience member, I had to sort of like get to know everyone, introduce myself. But as like the debater, automatically everyone knows you by default, and it must have been the exact experience for you as an organizer, where everyone sort of knew that this was Orsi's event, and you sort of automatically not have like this authority, but everyone automatically knows who you are, and I guess it is exactly what you're sort of aiming for, right, Orsi?
Initially, it was because there was a lot of people that I already knew. So the first 2 events was people coming to support. And then they had a lot of fun. So they told their friends about it. There's some of the key industry people jumped on to support. So they told other people about it. So that it was a big difference to the 3rd event, as you noticed as well, that going from 2nd to 3rd, it was gone from Orsi and her friends to an actual industry event. And there was a lot of people there that I didn't know previously.
And it was insane, like the quality of people. It's like a small niche sort of high quality sort of audience where like I'm talking to like people who are really good at recruiting, managing directors of like sort of worldwide companies, people who are doing like head of sales and like account managers, like everything, all like I was like really surprised and impressed with the quality of people you were able to attract together, Orsi.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the great thing about our industry, that everyone comes together, and everyone, all the senior people are very supportive of younger talent. One of my friends who came along, he dragged along one of he's quite senior on an APEC level, and he dragged along one of the guys who just came out of uni, and he was like, this is what we need to bring the younger guys into.
that's amazing. And I know putting together that third event, how stressful was it? Because I know last minute someone pulled out, but you were really prepared. You had backups on backups. Like, how was it pulling together that third event?
Stressful. It's always a bit stressful with just trying to find debaters. Everyone's a bit shy. But after everyone who had the experience, they were like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm so glad I did it. But it's a nerve-wracking experience. Like, I'd like to hear that from your perspective as well. I did the preparation the night before. I think I had the benefit that I've seen a couple of debates at the last events, and I've done it at uni. So in hindsight, even though I wasn't conscious of it, my preparation work was really well structured. And with the short amount of time I had, I think I've done the right things, which was really lucky. But I was very nervous. I was very unprepared. I mean, you don't know what the other team is going to throw at you.
Most definitely. And then now that you've sort of been a debater and you've been the host and you've been on the sort of judging panel, what do you like the most? Do you feel like you're going to be on the judging panel for the next 5 events, or are you going to be bouncing back and forth? What do you feel like?
So I don't usually do the judging because I do timekeeping, I do moderation, and you can't really pay attention when you keep checking the time. I love the debating part because I actually was so in tune with the content, what was happening, because you have to pay attention so much. I think I've not really done the judging, so I can't say. I'm not a huge fan of moderating because you just can't pay attention. So I missed the actual content of the event. I really did enjoy the debating.
Yeah, and then from my perspective, you're right, it was like really nerve-wracking. Like I was the first speaker, and I had to like take many deep breaths, and I was like, and then after a while, after 1 or 2 minutes, you sort of ease into it. But then in the last minute, you sort of ran out of things to say, and then you're like you're trying to pull together ideas. But then the second time around was so much more easier. And I think I felt like it was really me personally, I think it really helped me learn to gain the confidence to sort of talk in front of sort of a more older, sort of educated crowd. Way more different than me just talking in front of the camera at home. So that was like a new experience, and I think it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. It's definitely something I want to do again. And yeah, that was sort of my experience. As
you said, it was really nerve-wracking to prepare for it. But it's also a high. I had so much adrenaline, just being there and having that full paying attention and focus. And also whenever something came up and I had an answer to it, I was like, yes, I can respond to this. I was nervous about how I'm going to go with timing because you've got a given time frame. So I think you need to be really flexible with your timing and what information you want to get through. You have all of this information, all of this research, but which are the parts that you're going to share? Which are the parts that you are going to resonate with the judging panel? So one of the things that was helpful, for example, just knowing who were on the judging panel. So we knew that there were 2 people who are from research. So make sure that you have your facts right, but at the same time, you want to be funny. Like there was a lot of different things you want to juggle. And it's going to hit people in a different way. And can I just throw that into Jess as well? Like how did you guys experience that? Or what were the things that moved the needle for you?
Yeah, so as judges, we felt like in the first stage of the debate, there was a strong lean towards who was going to win. And that was mainly based on the strength of the debate, of the facts that were put forward, the way that they articulated those facts, and just the conviction that you felt hearing them debate. And then when we collaborated at the end, the thing that really moved the needle was who addressed the topic to the best ability. And that was obviously you and your opponent, that you both really hit the nail on the head when it came to addressing every single part of what the topic was, which is, will e-commerce
e-commerce will overtake from will be more the primary point of transaction within the next 5 years.
And that was the key part at the end, within the next 5 years. So I think you both really addressed that key part of the actual topic. Both of the debaters, like on both sides, were really charismatic. Like, it was really great to watch all of you debate together, and you could feel like you were just like here and then there and then here and then there. But it was a tough decision at the end, and we came together, and that was the thing that moved the needle. We addressed that 5-year, part of the topic.
Most definitely. It's pretty cool, Orsi, how you said you sort of studied the panelists. That's something I didn't know. Like, that's really like smart. Like, you sort of knew the type of panelists and sort of what type of data they'd like, and you sort of tailored your argument towards the panelists.
I think we have a big benefit of because the whole debate turned into a little bit of boys versus girls and how do we shop sort of the argument, and there were the panel was pretty much one person but all female. So I think the points that we were angling at were resonating with that crowd because we were talking about the shopping experience.
Yeah, I think a lot of it definitely around the experience made us feel like you helped us feel emotion towards why retail is still so important. And as much as all of us can admit that e-commerce is a huge part of our lives, there is something about the experience of going into a physical shop that you connected the emotional side towards, and I really appreciated that.
And then Jess, what do you think is like a good piece of advice for people that are going first? Because I felt like going first, one, you're sort of like going into unknown waters. Two, you open yourself up for the second person to counter everything you just said. And you then go third, so you don't close as well. So you start and you don't close, so you don't get that last sort of touch on the audience. So it feels like going first is like very difficult.
Yeah, I would say my advice would be just don't go first. It's tough. It's a really tough position, exactly for all the reasons that you just explained. I think if you do choose to go first, I think it's a challenge that you have to welcome, because there's not much advice that I can give other than it will be more challenging than the other debaters' positions.
I did actually think the opposite, because going first, you don't have to counter anything, so you can prepare in advance. Whilst if you are on the affirmative and you start the whole debate, but if you're going second, you have to address the points. So you have to be really quick and just bring all your information together.
And then how many, Orsi, out of like debates, like are there many different formats? Is there ability to like flip a coin or choose if you want to go first or second? Is that ever a thing? Or how do you choose that the counter went first, or like how was that chosen?
That's the formal debate structure. Okay. So affirmative always goes first.
Got it.
And generally, there are a lot of rules around it. I changed the timings a little bit based on feedback from the first event. But there's rules around how long you're going, and there's certain things that you have to address. So usually the way how you start your debate as your first speaker, you define the statement. So what does it actually mean? So for example, when we were debating as a primary point of transaction, my definition was that means that the number of sales going to be over 50%. So then you argue your point based on your definition, and then the other team can also dismantle your point or what your definition is. So it's difficult because they can go at anything. They can dismantle your points, or they can just discredit you as well. You guys could literally have gone down the route, but then again, it's not a very strong way to win the debate. But you could just be like, all of your data sources are incorrect or unreliable.
And what's your thoughts on this, Jess? I felt like what I learned from the debate was that the debate was about convincing people. Like, you can be as technical and as calm and cool and have all these numbers, but if you weren't just like convincing and sort of like persuading and being charismatic, it doesn't matter.
The art of persuasion is very strong. I think when you watch debaters, you want, as the judge, to feel again that sense of like conviction that they are really strong in what they are debating. And that's why debating is such a fascinating thing to do, because oftentimes you're debating something you actually don't believe in. And I think it's such a good skill to learn, is how to convey a point across to a wide amount of people, help them believe that that is the truth, even if you as yourself do not believe it. So I think it does take a lot of charisma. It takes a lot of confidence. It takes a lot of skills in public speaking. So I think if you're somebody that doesn't feel strength in those areas, going into a debating club like this, where it's really for all, types of skill sets, is, Orsi really made a point of saying that, like, at any point in your confidence level of public speaking or anything like that, you're welcome to debate here. And you even, you were validating to that, to say that really built your confidence to be able to speak in front of a group of people. And I think it's such a good skill to learn, and it kind of throws you into the deep end of like, this isn't just me speaking on stage to a topic where I have like a PowerPoint presentation that I know that I'm across. It really does force you to think about, not only does this have to be factually correct, but I also have to make the audience feel like I believe what I'm saying enough for them to believe it too. Yeah,
because I learned that like what the opposition, what Orsi and your partner did really well was like, you guys made it simple, you guys made it really easy to understand, and it wasn't about being technical or having the right numbers. It was just about sort of being and Donald Trump does it really well, where he keeps his words simple. He does a lot of repetitions. Has a few key things that he just repeats over and over and again.
I have to say that a lot of people came up to me afterwards, and because people knew about people, I actually said it in the speech as well, that people dropped out. So people knew that I had less than 24 hours to prepare, and they were like, "Oh my God, it's so amazing that you've done it in such a short amount of time." But actually, I think it worked to my favor, because I didn't have so much information. So I didn't have that pressure on me of like, I've got these 5 pages of information and data and ideas, and I want everyone to know all of it, because I had about 8 to 10 points to make. So we had to space that out, and maybe that's what allowed us to keep things simple. And even when I got to the place and Haas was Googling more data, I was like, actually, I don't want to get crowded or get my head crowded with more data. Just stick to the things I know and hope that they come up in one way or another.
Yeah. I think that's a really good tip. It's like, don't over-prepare. Don't get too much information in your head that you feel like you're overwhelming the people that are absorbing that.
Most definitely. And on that topic, how closely did you work with your partner, Orsi? Like, were you guys like seeing what notes you guys have, making sure you guys wouldn't say the same thing, giving each other tips? Oh, I think you should double down on that. Or were you guys sort of both doing your own thing?
So we didn't have an opportunity to prepare in advance because obviously I found it the night before, and Harps had a busy week as well. So I just called her on the day and I was like, look, I'm going to be on your team. I've done some research. I'll share it with you. So I shared the doc with her, printed it for both of us. And then she's done some research. And we had a couple of minutes before the event just to chat. And she was like, look, it's really good, all the information that you have in here. But she was like, it's very dry. She didn't say it like that, but she kind of did. She was like, we have to make this sassy and funny. And I was like, you're right, let's. So it kind of put me into the mindset of that as well. And she had her couple of points and I had my couple of points, and we kind of discussed those things. And then we did go back and forth, and during the debates we were passing notes to each other as well. But we kind of had that split out between us, and I knew what she was going to say, and we both went for the sassy, funny kind of argumentation, which I think is making it a lot more entertaining as well. How about you guys? Did you prepare together? Or did you have any? How did you work together?
Similar situation where we sort of just met each other sort of when we went to the sort of venue, and then we sort of looked at each other's point. James was able to like just put everything on the table, piece of paper. He sort of put it together, all his thoughts, and then sort of I showed him the things, the 3 points that I wanted to talk about. He was sort of more stronger with the numbers, so I gave him like the number sort of points I had, and then let him take over those. But I think we did have different styles. I don't know if you sort of noticed it on your end, Jess, but I felt like me and James, we had different styles, where James was really technical, he was really calm, he was like really smart, he sort of knew the numbers inside out, he was calm and collected.
Yeah, when we walked away from the debate, I was having a conversation with somebody about how the way that James spoke was he was very slow, and he made a point of emphasizing the points. Like, it was just so digestible. And I, even as a judge, walked away from that thinking to myself, if I could adopt one skill when it came to public speaking, it would be to slow down. Slow down, because it makes you feel like you're confident in what you're saying, and you're not rushing, you're not nervous, and it gives people time to process what you're saying.
That's so cool. And yeah, I think maybe like we should have aligned, you know, Orsi and your part, you guys, and Harps, you guys were both sassy, and it worked. You guys were like a unit. So I think that's something I want to definitely pick up if I do it again, where I really want to be like, hey, let's pick a type of energy or like a tone or speed that we should align ourselves on, and let's have a few things that we should both double down on. Because I think we were going over volume. We were like going with different points, but we weren't doubling down on the same points together.
Yeah, we had, I tried to introduce the teams to each other in advance so they have time to prepare together, but you don't always have the opportunity and the time. We did have a team at the last event who all came from the same company or the same team. So they were just an oiled machine moving together. But there's definitely value in preparing together when people have the chance.
That's awesome. And Jess, what was your experience like as a panelist? Is this the first time you panel, or were you a panelist on the first or second one?
No, I wasn't. So first time being a judge, and it was really great to be able to sit there with the perspective of not only being entertained, but also to learn, and to be able to critique in a way that I felt like just from a different perspective than what you have as an audience member. So it was really enjoyable. It was very entertaining. And like you said previously, Orsi and Harp had a lot of fun. You could tell that they were there to entertain. And I think the dynamic between James and Orsi as well was very entertaining. It felt like a true sparring of, you know, perspectives. And it was, as judges, and I'm sure the audience, very entertaining to be a part of.
That's super cool. And then
going back on the different style as well, I just had a really good learning from being on the debating team is how you guys were talking in a different way was very different how it is to respond to that. So I was responding to you, and Harps was responding to James, because that's how the sequence worked out. And the way how you were structuring your thoughts, you were really making your points separate and clear. And I think when you're doing a presentation, that's what you do, because you want people like, these are the 3 things you need to remember. This is just to educate people. And I think that's a good way to get the judges to hear and listen to your points. But I think it also backfires in a debating style, because it made it so easy for me to dismantle one by one. because I could address your point so directly. So while you made a point, I wrote down what you said, but I was already searching for my data and my information that was a reaction to that. And when James was talking, I was really struggling to write and dismantle the points because it was just kind of going in around in tangents. It wasn't so pointed at a point or another. So then if you just look at my notes on the response, it was so different.
Yeah, interesting. So when watching or studying like the best debaters, how do they succinctly and simply put out all their sort of points, but make it not too succinct where like the opposition can just break down each one at a time? Like, what's the best way to go about it?
I'm not sure if there's a best way. Just how did you see this?
I didn't until you mentioned it to me, and then I was like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. It's like it's tough because you don't want to just go in tangents. You want to be clear and concise. So I guess it depends on whether or not you're going to angle more towards like helping the judges to understand your points really clearly and concisely versus not wanting to give too much to the debaters to be able to easily dissect and do the rebuttals. So I think it might be worth experimenting with. Like if you get the chance to debate again, try a different flow and see which one you feel like you would naturally gravitate towards more, or which one is like received in a better way. I can't really say that there's one or the other way that is perfectly correct.
I think it also comes down to what's going to sway the judges, whether arguing your point or whether how you're addressing the other team's point, right? Because I think if everything that you say is addressed on the other side, then it's going to be, because then that's going to sway. So it's about who is last almost.
Yeah, like I was going to ask next was like, what's your thoughts on just having, now I'm noticing it, like all our points, me and James, we focus on bringing up new points. We did a bit of rebuttals, but not enough. Like the next time I do this, I want to try where it's just like my 3 simple points are 3 simple rebuttals. I'm just going to keep repeating those rebuttals. And unless you rebut a rebuttal, then that's where it can get a bit rocky. But like, well, what's your thoughts on that strategy where you sort of just have rebuttals only?
So that's actually how I prepared, and I really benefited from in the debate. So the way how my preparation sheet was structured, I had an opening speech, but I completely changed the opening speech because I was already responding to you guys. And the rest of my things, I had stats and a couple of graphs in the bottom of the sheet. And the main section that I was using, I wasn't preparing to say, this is our point, but if they say this is what we react. So I didn't prepare through arguing our point. I prepared through dismantling your point.
Yeah. And I remember I was watching someone from the second debate where he would sort of predict the rebuttals. So I don't know if, I want to get your thoughts on this, Jess, if this would be a good strategy where if you were to go first, you would bring out 3 points or 2 points, and you would also say, but the opposing team may say this, and to that I have this to say. So you're sort of just like creating a going first rebuttal type of thing, and you're predicting the rebuttals.
Yeah, I think that's a really clever approach. It shows that you're forward thinking with already what you think the team might say. And I think that that's a really clever way to approach it, because you almost throw them off where they feel like then if they do say it, their entire script has already been addressed. So you're throwing them off. And I think that's the purpose of the debate, is to try and throw the other team off. And I think it's a really clever way to do it.
Yeah, I think I definitely want to give it another try. Orsi, tell me the experience of how were you able to pull together the sponsor, and the sponsor was amazing, and they brought together so many people. That's something I didn't, now I'm thinking about, like if you bring in a sponsor, you're hitting like 3 birds with 1 stone.
Friends. You remember at the beginning of the podcast when you asked me what's the benefit of having building a network in the industry?
Yeah.
This is what it is. So yes, one of my girlfriends, she's in the industry, and she is doing a lot of work in her company to raise awareness about their presence. So it just made sense for them to support something like this. And the next one is going to be hosted in the office of your debating partners office. So, people who come along, they're like, oh, we want to get along, get involved. Some of my other friends who are working with other companies, they said that they're keen to get involved as sponsors as well. But that's definitely something I need to build a pipeline of, just people who are happy to host, people who are happy to sponsor, people who are happy to debate. Because I think people, now that it's out there, people heard how fun experience it is. I think audience is becoming easier to recruit. There's definitely an appetite. But yeah, sponsors will have to come along the way as well. And I try to make sure that the topics are relevant to those sponsors in one way or another. It's not something that's kind of stating their points because we want to be impartial, but it's something that is relevant for that company.
That makes sense. And what type of audience do you feel like you're attracting at the moment? Or what's your sort of target market, or who would be interested in a debate, or like either a debater, a guest?
People in the advertising industry, people who are in areas that are relevant for certain topics, those people who are interested in thought leadership, interested in having a conversation, passionate about what they're doing. Different, obviously, like last debate club was about the virtual world. This debate club is about e-commerce, so that's going to be different type of companies, people who are working for those different type of companies, but also just people who like to be sociable and exchange ideas.
Awesome. And then the last thing I want to ask, so now you've done 3 Orsi, what's next? What do you see in the next few events? And I definitely want to ask Jess as well. From my perspective, going to the second and third one, I can definitely see this continually growing and sort of getting to a point where you're sort of just reinvesting everything, and you're sort of breaking even, and you're sort of putting together these events where it's sort of like financially, you have all the sponsors, you just give everything back to the audience, and that brings in more people, and then as there's more people, that attracts more people. And then I definitely do see how there's so much value being a debater, and there's so much value being a guest, because you get to meet all these people, and you get free drinks and food and snacks, and I could just see it just sort of like infinitely sort of growing in like a flywheel effect.
Yeah, from my perspective, it was just really exciting to see the transition from the first to the third event. As Orsi mentioned, the first one felt a lot of, a feeling of just wanting to support somebody that we really love and that we're friends with. The third one was like, oh shit, this is legit. Like, it felt professional. I've never been more proud to see Orsi shine in that light. I just afterwards was just like, I just could feel her glowing, and it was so beautiful to see her step up and show us really in such a short time frame how much better that event could get. So, I just was so impressed with the last one. Like you said, the quality of the sponsor, the quality of the venue, the quality of the debaters. It was just the quality of everything, the audience. And I think it's a really fun event to be a part of. And I can't see that going downhill. I can only see that going uphill. So yeah, just super proud to be a part of it.
Thanks, Jess.
And then, I guess what's next? Now you've done 3. Where do you see the next few going?
The next one is already, we've got a date for it. It's going to be the 4th of May. I would like it to be getting into a place where it's not, we have to drag everyone into kind of when I don't have to approach people, but people come to me to put their hands up for a debate. So everything is a bit more oiled and naturally going forward. So I'd like to be in a place where a couple of the events are pre-planned already. So we're not only talking about the next one, but we have 2-3 locked in advance. Have a bit more frequency, so probably a monthly event. We're going to Melbourne. We don't know when yet, but it's definitely on the cards. So branch out to maybe other states.
That's super cool. And I guess last question, what type of people do you think would be interested? Maybe if someone's like listening right now, someone in your circle, they're like one of your friends, they haven't been to one of these events yet, they're a bit unsure if this is something that they'd want to go. Tell us a quick 1-minute summary on what the event is, what type of people it attracts, and why they should be there.
Honestly, I would love for everyone to come along, because as I said at the beginning of the podcast, there was so much value coming out of people who in theory weren't the people who would be coming to this type of event, and it turned it into so much bigger than it is. I really see the value of that real mix of people and different perspective and people connecting inside and outside of the industry. So yes, it's an advertising debate club. I would love to see people who are coming out of uni and they don't know what they want to do with their lives. People in startups, people in just generally thought leaderships, people who, I don't know, read the news, I would love to have more exchange of ideas from all walks of life. And it's to answer your question about why would they come along, it's such an amazing skill to have, to debate. So to participate, I think you can use it in any area of life. So you get if you jump on as a debater, you get the benefit of learning the art of persuasion. You learn about something new when you hear other people debating, and also just connect with people, because everyone who comes along, they're people who are interesting in their own ways. They're people who can introduce you to opportunities. They can open doors for you. So I guess the networking aspect. When I moved to Sydney, I went to a couple of networking events, and they were so cringe. Some of them are really cringe, and you don't really have a real discussion. It's kind of forced, and it's like, okay, what do you do? But when the debate club also sets up a topic of conversation that's already not a where are you from? How old are you? How long have you been in Australia for? What do you do for work? And what does it? You go jump straight into exchanging ideas and opinions.
Yeah, and I think I can definitely relate to everything you said. Like as a debater, like there's so much experience. You learn how to be convincing. You learn the art of persuasion, and you meet so many amazing people, and it sort of forces you to prepare about this topic. And then there's so much value just being as a debater. So I highly recommend anyone that's interested, try, be a debater. But yeah, thank you so much, Orsi. I really appreciate you like pushing me to do it. You put together this like amazing event. Like it must have been so like stressful. Like putting together these events aren't easy. So just like seeing you put them together, push through, like it's amazing. But yeah,
thank you so much for coming along and putting the effort and the energy in, and thank you so much for having us on the podcast, because I would love to put this out there for people to hear and use it for their preparation or get inspired to come along.
Most definitely, yeah. Where can people find more about what you're doing, Orsi, and the next events? Where can people find more details about it?
So we have a meetup page. It's called Advertising Industry Debate Club, supported by the IAB. There is a LinkedIn group. Those are the best places. And usually the registration is through Eventbrite. But I always post on Meetup when the next event is going to be.
That's amazing. And then Jess, where can people find more about you and sort of what you're doing from your end?
Yeah, so we didn't really do much of an introduction, but my background is in entrepreneurship. So I've worked for myself for about 10 years now. I've worked in digital marketing and also startups. So if anyone wants to learn more about me, I would say probably the best place to go is LinkedIn, Jessica Koncz. You can check out some of the things that I've been involved in and give that a follow. But yeah, otherwise come along to the next debating event because I'll be at all of them.
Beautiful. Yeah, so yeah, that's another episode. Hope you guys got value from this episode. I think it was like an amazing episode. We got to learn about debates and like putting together one. We sort of got to see behind the scenes. I really like this episode. I think I really enjoyed just digging in and seeing how to put together a debate and networking. And I think it was a pretty broad sort of episode. So thank you so much, guys, for doing this, and hopefully you guys got value listening to this. All right, that's another episode. Peace, guys.